phone, so. Call the meeting to order at 4:32. If everyone could rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I expect this to be a brief meeting, but everything is necessary as we have payroll and updates, etc. I'd entertain a motion to amend the minutes of April 5th, 2022. As it was brought to our attention, there was an omission. Mr. Dupre.
Yeah, amend the minutes to reflect that I was actually present at the meeting.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend by Mr. Dupre that he was here. And we have a second by Mr. Farrow, and we do need to do this by roll call.
Before that too, Kerry, I don't think is on the committee anymore.
Right,
So
we'll deal with that in a second.
separate, okay.
That'll be a separate thing, and it's not really on the agenda, but it is on the minutes, so. The first motion is to amend the minutes to show Mr. Dupre is here. Might as well start in your area.
Aye.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Scriven?
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. And a further motion to remove Kerry Sandler from the minutes, as she has been, she was removed last year when Mr. Dupre took her place. So that's already been done, but in error it was reported that she appeared on the minutes. So I would look for a motion, additional motion to remove her.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Dupre and second by Mr. Farrow. Start in your info.
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Scriven?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you, folks. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as amended? And I would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Dupre?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Scriven?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, unanimous. And the motion was from
Ms. Stafford and I second.
Mr. Okay. I know I want to make sure Mr. Bates is kept up to speed. At this moment, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bates, review of the monthly OPM report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as part of the monthly OPM report, we always review the consultant's recent activities. That includes the OPM. Then once the designer is on board, we would discuss their activities. And then down the line of the project, we would, once the contractor's on board, they would be included in that as well. At this time, you only have your OPM on board. So as a recap of Collier's recent activities, we're going to start with the design pre-bid walkthrough that was on March 9th. Then we received and distributed the designer applications on March 31st. Designer reference checks, designer subconsultant matrix were completed. We attended the MSBA DSP meetings both on April 13th and on April 19th. We attended the April 5th building committee meeting, and there was general coordination between the district and MSBA, various phone calls and emails. So that is a recap of our recent project activity. Looking ahead, it's a 30-day look ahead. Designer interviews, as you know, are coming up on May 3rd, and we're going to participate in that meeting. Once that designer is chosen on the 3rd, we're going to be negotiating and preparing the designer contract and coordinate with the MSBA for their approval. The schedule notes that you have in front of you here that we're tracking May 18th is the contract award date for the architect. And then the designer, after they're awarded, will be looking to start their existing conditions survey process. And that's probably going to go into the summer, take probably 4 to 5 weeks in total, just roughly. So that is a schedule overview. That's a project activity overview. As part of our monthly report, we also like to update the committee on budget. I can tell you that we have a total budget for a feasibility study of $850,000. Colliers has negotiated a total fee for services of $179,977. Through March 31st, we, Colliers, have billed for a total of $18,657. We have a total remaining contract balance of $161,319. And just as a reminder, it's not on the draft report that you have in front of you, but I just think it's important to note that the MSBA is offering a reimbursement rate of 57.74%. That's up to a maximum of $490,790. Going forward, these reports are going to be tracking against that total $850,000 budget. So you'll be seeing that up on the top right-hand column of your report. We just have to get some of the information finalized in the ProPay system, and then that's going to start generating, and will be coming out every month with these OPM reports. And that is the OPM report. If there's any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Bates?
Yes.
I believe Ernie had a question, and I had two clarifications that you could make for us.
Okay.
Ernie?
John, do you share the designer reference checks?
Yes, those were shared with probably a smaller group, and they should be shared with the group at large, so I'll make sure that it gets done.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you do the follow-up question? Who did those reference checks?
I did.
You did them all?
Yeah, and
Okay.
they were all glowing references. In
Yeah.
fact, it came up during the meeting that,
If we're going to discuss anything to do with the individuals, let's hold off on that discussion for a moment or two, because I do need to recuse myself.
Okay. That's fine.
But just real quick, were there any other invoices? I thought we had some attorneys' invoices that were within the packet, and they were for Mr. Sandberg?
Yes, there was a little bit of confusion with what I passed out, because I came up with a spreadsheet of, it looks like this in the packet, of the bills that were to be paid. So the ones up the top that say paid invoices, they've been paid. They were voted at previous meetings.
Okay.
And to this week, so this 1 month or whatever, of this meeting's pending invoices are the only two Colliers ones down below in yellow for $6,327 and $9,409. So
Okay.
those are the only two bills that are outstanding. The reason why they're yellow in the top here under paid invoices is because they haven't actually gone onto a warrant yet, because we were waiting to get the warrant put together. But as soon as they do, they're...
Okay, but those have been voted on and
This-
approved?
Voted on
This
and
committee,
approved.
yeah,
Okay.
this committee approved.
And I
it
do
last-
apologize because I missed the last
No,
meeting.
that's okay.
And then, just so you know, the backup information in your packet are the ones that we already did from the legal team.
Okay. Alrighty, so I guess, in order to keep everything flowing, I would entertain a motion to approve invoice numbers 739524 and 744099, both payable to Colliers Project Leaders for their, I would assume their billings
It's their
that would make them current.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Lincoln, second by Mr. Farrow. We do need to do a roll call. Mr. Dupre?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Scrimmon?
yes,
Yes?
Yes.
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 Unanimous. Thank you, folks. I am going to recuse myself for a moment or two. If you guys, I'll be in the cone of silence room. You just give me a heads up when you're done discussing the designers. That would be fantastic.
Do you have a key for it?
I had Michelle leave it
she
a job.
took it.
Who's the vice chair?
Randy's the vice chair.
Who's the next?
We have a clerk?
Yeah, who's the clerk?
So in lieu of that, should we just move on?
Yeah.
Are we comfortable moving on to Part C, discussion regarding the April 19th design selection panel meeting?
Yeah.
You want to start?
yeah, I mean, I can. I think the intent was just to have a general discussion about what what was observed, heard. Well, for starters, I think it's fair to share with the group the finalists out of the four, right? So AI3, Ravelli Brensinger, and Studio G. Yeah, they've been notified of their shortlisting and the fact that they're going to be interviewing with us on the 3rd.
Yep.
Feel free to add your thoughts.
Yeah, it was a eye-opening experience. There were 16 people on the panel, 13 of which were from MSBA and/or their affiliates from state agencies or things. They asked us what we felt, they asked us our thoughts, but I thought the most fascinating thing was that everybody sort of has their own agenda. And when you look at it, what some of the people in the MSBA seemed to be pushing for was one of the groups that we didn't promote when we were here. And they kept putting them there, and for reasons that were, they might not have had many cracks at the MSBA process themselves. So you could kind of see this whole like, okay, how's this going to shake out then? You know, and it was good. They asked good questions. They did say AI3 was positive. They did say that the font was very small in their writing. That's what one man from the MSBA kept pointing out. And we did have the ability to talk. I think we did, Ken was helping us on the chats, and I think we did a good job of sort of distancing TKSP, because TKSP was not the consensus of this group, so we were trying to put some shade, I think, on that, and that's sort of how it worked out. So I think when we did take the votes, there were really, the three finalists were really close, within like 2 or 3 points, and then I think they were in their mid-20s, and then I think at the end, TKSP only had 10, 9 of which were first place votes from 3 members of MSBA. So it was kind of like, okay, so we sort of play a role, but you guys want to do your own thing too. But it's kind of eye-opening.
It wasn't what I expected. I thought we'd have more of a setting, and some of the comments that we got on text, thank you, that I appreciated that. They asked our opinion, but then, they must have spent 15 minutes talking about the fonts of AI3. And so I held up and I said, well, we get these nice booklets, so we really don't understand what you're talking about the font, but obviously it's because they get it printed. And it was about a lot of information, but then I finally said, in other words, stop talking about the font. Can we talk about the quality of these people and what we think? And then we found out that the one that we didn't want to, yes, they only have 2 projects with MSBA, and neither of them are finished yet. So they kept saying, and they were wonderful and they were great, but they haven't finished them yet. And they were looking to. They want to do their own, they seem to me like they want to do what they want to do, and they want to have more people involved, and it didn't really matter what we felt. I kind of felt that a little bit. I really did. It was like, okay, yeah, that's nice to hear, and then they went on, but a lot was talking about the company that we didn't want at all, and that they didn't have the experience, they didn't have Massachusetts experience, and that was troubling to me. That was really bothering. It was like, I don't know, was it you, John, or Ken, who put, we don't want to be the guinea pig? Did you?
Oh, yeah,
put
that's
that?
I think that was me.
Oh, you?
We don't want to be Massachusetts's TS,
Yeah, thank you very much.
this
No.
company's guinea pig.
Yeah.
And and to that point, I get where the other 13 members from the state were coming from. They want a bigger pool
Yeah.
of people bidding on this, and I get that. But that's not our problem.
No.
Our problem is,
That's
we don't want to be their guinea pig to find out, are they good at this or not? And I think
Not
the
for a big
outcome,
school.
exactly, and I think the outcome was good from this committee's perspective too, because as you said, our top 3 are the top 3 who are going to be interviewed next week, so that's good,
It was nervous though in the conversation.
Yeah.
We were all getting a little
Yeah.
nervous because they were really pushing it. It was
I
like-
did feel that some of the things they said about Studio G sort of put it in a better light than I think after first reading it at first blush, just reading all the 4 that we had to talk about. So I mean, some of the people brought up some decent points about Studio G. So like I sort of feel better that they're included in the group too. I think it seemed a little bit more like, in my mind, maybe it was just my personal mind, leaving this group, we sort of had like 2 and 2. And then after talking to them, I think maybe Studio G sort of rose a little bit by what some of the people did have to say about it. Because they talked about what's their workload, they talked about everybody's workload, how many current projects, what can they feel that they do. And I almost got the impression though that everybody knows AI3 is the front runner. So it's like, okay, what can we do to slow their pace so they always don't get picked too?
Yeah.
And even the person who said the most about the font did say, well, we all know if AI3 says they can, if AI3 bid the job or something like that, we know that they can do the job. So it was eye-opening.
I think you guys will probably find the same thing during the next
Yeah.
phase with the interviews of all the designers. It'll be the same type of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
John, your experience with that group, the 13 amigos or 13 people, are they, it's a balanced group of engineers, architects,
Yeah.
paper
Yeah.
pushers, what is it? Is it
No, yeah, that's somewhat, it's a representation from all the industries. and
the
businesses.
trades?
Yeah, the trades,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
They were, just to give you an idea, Building Trades Council, architect, engineer, architect, public member, staff person, AGC, not sure what that is, a designee, so,
General contractor.
Yeah, contractor,
association.
so,
Yeah.
a lot of different, from everywhere. And like George said, they all had their little
Yeah, it was fascinating.
little
Yeah.
thingies that they were pushing.
Yeah.
They all had their little things.
Yeah.
They don't have
But
it, really.
it
No,
was-
they don't really have it. Yeah, they came out of the gate
Yeah.
sort of saying
Yeah.
what they would like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought a couple things that were really interesting to me that came out of it were, one, I think everybody on that group pretty much realized, oh, AI3 is sort of maybe the gold standard, but also, and I certainly was listening carefully when this was being talked about, was they're perhaps the most expensive. I think so those were the words out of someone's mouth. And now, while, that's not a decision, you're picking a designer, and then and only then are you talking about the fee. Nevertheless, somebody said that, during that meeting, and I wasn't really sure if they were referring to their fee or the price of the schools that they designed. And I don't know if,
Yeah,
John, you
wrote
have
it-
any
I wrote
clarity
it
on
down.
that?
I wrote it down. They said that looking at the fees for feasibility, which of course, we're in control of. It's
Right.
our budget.
Right.
So they could be the most expensive, and we could pick them, but they're gonna have to stay within our budget. So that's what everybody needs to understand. You can say they're the most expensive, but if our budget is this, they gotta stay within that unless we give them permission to go any higher. So, but they said, what it was, the TSKP was slightly below average, and they used the word slight. AI3 was slightly above, and the other two were average on the costs. I will try because I thought that was important.
Did you
So-
think in that conversation they were referring specifically to their fee or the price of the buildings that they designed?
No, it was their fee.
Okay.
Their fee.
I didn't think it was
Yeah,
entirely
no, it
clear at
was
the
fee.
time, but okay.
Yeah, no, it was the fee, because they specifically were talking about the fee of the feasibility, what were their fees, how did they run?
Right.
But, that could be depending on the building too, and what the places, what their budget is, wherever they go. I mean, we have a budget that we've set, other places might have a higher budget than us.
Right. Right.
I guess it would be all, but no, I did write that, it's funny that you said that, Lincoln, because I did write it down.
Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome, because I said, oh, this seems like an important.
Yeah.
So I wrote it down. Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like on May 3rd that they'll have about a half hour to present each, and then there'll be, I think, some general discussion once again with the group, and then we take the vote.
Right, vote, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll
It's a
see what happens.
3-2-1 vote,
Yeah.
that's how we vote.
Okay, so it's 3,
3 for
Three
first,
to-
2
three
for
at the
second,
top,
1 for third.
and 3 and 2 on
And then they
right.
add them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they add them all up and see what happens.
so where, can I ask this question back on the references, where does that play a part in?
It plays not much of a part, frankly.
Okay.
In fact, it was brought up during the meeting by the director of design that, and they're finding this across the board, that they're not getting a lot from the reference checks because they're all glowing references. So there's nothing to distinguish one from the
Gotcha.
other. And I
They were
found
all
that as I was doing them because
Yeah, they
everything
were
was
all
excellent, excellent, excellent. Nothing but good things to say. And I got to a point where I was kind of hoping for something other than excellent, just
Yeah.
to help
Yeah.
distinguish one from the other. And but.
And are we allowed, so they have their reference checks, but then they also have the listing of all the schools that they've ever worked on. Can we?
Could
not-
keep going.
Can we keep going to people who are not their references, but here's the list of schools they worked on?
I don't think anyone would stop you if you so inclined, yeah.
Yeah.
I did find it funny because they went through the books a little bit differently maybe than some of us looked at it individually, and the number of people who work for different schools and different companies, but listed the same buildings they had worked on. Because the question came up about the Seekonk School.
Yeah.
And the Seekonk School appeared in three of the four companies'
Yeah.
booklets as having worked on it. But only when you really read it, it was because, you know, Rich Pokanen, who did this aspect for them, then did it for this company for them.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so it was kind of funny when you really broke it down. I kept thinking of you, Dave, with like what you said from that point of view of who you work with and how, you know. So, but that was good because he went section by section, sort of, in his overview. The man who did it.
So before I forget, the question of AI3's workload came up.
Yes,
And I had reached out to the MSBA to see if they had anything formally published that would tell us what they're currently working on and, you know, what stage it's in. They don't have anything that they want to put out there, but we should make a point to ask it during the interview process.
Okay.
So it's something that.
It is something that I can ask then.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a qualifier with the MSBA. If they're overbooked, they're gonna look negative on
Yeah,
that.
although they said
Expenses
none of these
mentioned.
people would have applied, that would have sent in the application if they couldn't do it.
Okay.
They qualified it
I
that
thought
way.
that was the opinion of the MSBA, that's what I personally thought, that they would have their opinion that, yeah, you got too much work going on, we're gonna give it to the next person.
Yeah,
Is that?
they could, maybe
Okay.
they could think that, but they told us
Yeah.
that,
There's no one amongst this group that's beyond that threshold.
yeah.
Okay.
Right, yeah, right. And I didn't get the impression that they were trying to bump AI3. I just got the impression that they were trying to get to the interview for that TKSP. You know, they were just trying
Yeah, they were
to get
trying to
them
push
there.
them.
Because I think if it was tighter, they probably would have done 4.
Yeah,
But I think at the end of the day, there were some members of the state folks who heard what we said.
Yeah, I agree.
And, in particular, one,
And
Barbara
then-
Hansberry there, I've worked with her in the past, but she specifically said, I take what the local districts, what the local folks saying very seriously, so.
Yeah. And hers reflected that.
Yeah, the voting-
Exactly.
Her voting
in
reflected
general.
that.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
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 Like you had said, it's kind of contrary to what we thought going into the voting. Like, oh boy, this could be much closer than we thought. But
Yeah.
in the end, they ended up going with the district's preferences.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
but the conversation wasn't that way.
Right.
No.
So just, so I can kind of put this back in my brain here. So this was like a mock trial or a mock?
No, this was like a screen, this was like a paper. I mean, if you do a lot of, this was like a paper screening.
Paper.
You know, we're gonna knock anybody out before we bring them in person.
Okay.
And
Shortlisted.
Yeah, shortlisted, yeah.
Shortlisted.
All right.
That's exactly what
For
it
interview,
was.
for the
Yeah.
next step.
And I think I think the man who was running the meeting would have gone to lowest one if he could have. You know, if the scores went that way.
Yeah.
You know, but they didn't go that way, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And then on May 3rd, we'll do it again, and now we have 5 questions. We sort of agreed that we'd use the token questions that the MSBA prepares, because when you really read through them, they were all inclusive.
And you added something to it.
Yeah, I just had something about, just to talk about, if you could, a question of communication, letting people know, how does that look for the community? Like, what's your process to let the community know? And, but I think they're good questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Half hour's gonna go quick per person.
Yeah.
And they're pretty strict about the timing on that.
Yeah.
Is it a public meeting on May 3rd?
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
So I could sit there and watch this?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Guess so.
It's not in person, right? So
No, it's
so-
all virtual.
How does it public?
Yeah, which
It's
was
even
a
funner when
little
you're
difficult,
person.
because you're trying to raise your hand and trying to speak, and
Yeah. There were 2 bets.
there were 2 Beths, so that made it
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else?
All right, shall I wave right in?
Yeah. So we can set the next meeting date?
So,
Yeah, sure. We got this. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Next on the agenda, I believe the last thing is to set a next meeting date. And I'm gonna refer to John here as far as what we have going with, what are they voting on this election?
Yeah, the third is the interview and selection.
Okay.
Keeping with the bi-weekly format, does it make sense to meet the following Tuesday? That would be
Following
2 weeks
Tuesday?
from today?
Uh-huh.
10th?
The 10th?
Yep.
I know I have a conflict that day. My wife's having foot surgery again this year. Fun stuff. But
We'll see.
I'm sure we can have somebody.
And, I mean, you know, agenda-wise, that would be essentially to do what we did today, except to recap the results of the interview process. So if the committee finds that to be, you know, valuable, with the 10th.
We could do that, or we could do the following week. It's at the pleasure of the committee. I mean, I'm one member, and I'm not most certainly,
Either works.
Either was,
necessary. I would like to obviously be here.
So,
17th.
17th.
17th work?
Is that, so I can see on the 18th, we're supposed to award the contract, we need to do anything before that?
yeah, so, okay, good point. I think it would behoove us to meet earlier than that, so we could maybe discuss it. That's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I would have to recuse myself, or possibly recuse
Right.
at that point.
Does the full committee, this full committee approve the contract? Or who are the parties to the contract, aside from the designer,
I think
obviously?
we'd like to get a vote from the committee to proceed into contract with the selected firm. So with that in mind, you know, the firm selection would be done by the 10th, certainly be done by the 4th or 3rd. So, yeah, I mean, the intent would be to have the committee vote to approve to proceed. So
Okay.
that's kind of why I ID the 10th is a,
Okay, now, is the town of Whitman going to have the desire as the project manager to have your town council review the contract?
Right, so we're not the project manager for the project.
I understand.
So I'd be happy to go through that process again if we like. So as I think everyone here knows, you know, we had town council at the request, you know, agreement of the school's administration to look at the contract with Colliers. I'd be happy to go through that again if folks want. You know, I think it's a good idea from my perspective.
We just gotta watch the timing though, too.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
it's schedule and we
she be
can't,
able
we
to
can't
turn
wait.
it around, and is it a
She-
boilerplate contract?
yeah, it is. But I wouldn't, I think it would be a good idea to have the council.
Can we get the boilerplate that we'd be looking to issue to Lincoln so he can turn it over to town council sooner rather than later?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so next day or two, and then if there's any amendments that she wants to make, at least everyone's on the same page. This is the designer, not the project manager. I'm hopeful that the boilerplate will be sufficient, but
How is the negotiation, once the winning
Firm
proposal is identified, who and how does the negotiation on the contract happen?
Well, we would handle that. We
Okay.
would need you to be involved. There'd be a little bit of back and forth. It'd be similar to the OPM, except we take the leadership role there, so.
And it's pretty much money.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty much the main item, right?
exactly, yeah.
And you folks would take the lead, you'd propose to take the lead on that?
Mhm.
Okay. So I'd say whenever you folks have it complete,
Mhm.
hopefully, presumably, maybe by the end of that week, May 6th or something, I don't
Yeah.
know. As soon as you have it, we can get it to the town council and take a look.
would we be better off to get him the boilerplate now and say the only thing that's really missing is whoever's named and the dollar amounts? But the terms and conditions, all the T and Cs would be the same.
Yep.
And make sure that they're okay with that.
Yeah, that'd be great if
For
you folks
previews,
can
yeah.
get, as Fred said, if you folks can get me whatever it is, with the exception of the dollar amount and the proposed
Yep.
person, entity that's being contracted with, we'll get the town council on it right away.
Sure.
So I guess my question is how safe is the May 18th date?
Yes,
I mean, we've been
Well,
down
no,
this
we
road
might as well
before.
do the 10th.
Yeah, we've been down this road before.
At
so-
that point.
yeah.
Yes.
You know, who knows, maybe my wife gets done quick and I leave her at home and have my kid watch her if I can get away with
I'm
that.
sure
She's watching it right
Yeah.
now to find that out.
Yeah. I can get you right. if you need.
No, she's not, she's getting her hair done right now. so.
Just a
So-
clarification, what do you, I'm not sure what you mean by how safe is the 18th.
I will say that because when we were contracting with you, we had pushing dates down because there was some back and forth.
Oh, because of the review process,
Sure.
pushed it back a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean,
In negotiating of the contract with the designer, you incorporate the schedule, this is your schedule, right, that you adopted.
Right.
You incorporate the schedule in that
It's
contract?
attached, yeah.
Okay. So then, through the negotiations, they have to meet what you have outlined?
Right.
Okay, good.
So are we doing the 10th?
So,
I just wanna make sure
the
that
10th
the
sounds like
18th
a
is
safer
the 18th.
bet.
Okay.
Two.
I want to make sure that the 18th is the 18th
Is
and
there
not
a way that
August
deadline-
1st.
Deadline town council, the turnaround.
Well,
You're gonna tell
Yeah.
me.
And that's why if we get the boilerplate over to them now,
okay.
and we have the contract vetted, other than the amount and the person, or the firm, I think we're light years ahead of where we were last time, with the project manager contract.
I agree.
And I believe that's the last contract we're going to have to do.
Now,
So May 10th, 4:30, sound good for everyone?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
same place.
Same place, same time, same bat channel, although, George, some of these folks here may not know what that means.
I do.
On that notion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Farrow, second by Ms. Stafford.
Yes.
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 Mr. Scriven?
Yes.
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 Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.